All right, I just wanted to make a short video about how to approach writing so we can take some of the anxiety and some of the arduousness and just difficulty and headache out of writing a paper. I firmly believe that anybody who can think can write. We just have to learn the skills that help us organize it more simply. And I don't know that you'll ever get to a point where you hear you have a writing assignment and you think, oh yay, I can't wait, I gotta text my mom, my best friend, I'm so excited, it's the best thing that's ever happened. Like, that probably will never happen. But what I want us to get to is the part where you hear that you have to write a paper, you think, yeah, okay, because you have the skills to make it happen. The first thing we have to do when we're trying to learn to write with less headache, more effectively, and more efficiently, is to change the way that we approach writing. So traditionally, students look at writing like this. They think of pre-writing as this tiny little thing where you hurry up and grab a bunch of stuff so that you can finally get to writing the paper because you just want to be done, and the sooner you start writing, the sooner you'll be done. And this is the wrong idea. So pre-writing is barely looked at, or they just think about it a little bit, or they think Googling a couple of things or pulling a couple of quotes off of Think Exist is the same as doing your pre-writing stage, because they just want to get to the writing. And then they sit down and they view writing, like the actual writing of the draft or of the paper, as the longest, most difficult, most significant part of the task. And that is the opposite of real. When we look at it this way, we don't do enough preparation, and then we torture out a paper over the series of time, or worse, we just do a stream of consciousness and type whatever we think, and it doesn't make sense to anyone but us, or it just flows through in a like, I guess that's okay sort of way. And then we look at post-writing as, yeah, I scanned it over, I ran a spell check, I submitted it. This is wrong. Little bit of time preparing, long time writing, running a quick spell check, the opposite. And that's what makes it torture, that's what makes it hard, and that's what makes students produce work that's not up to the quality that they should be producing for their skill level. We really want to look at it like this. Preparation is key. The pre-writing stage, preparing to sit down and write a draft, should take the most amount of time. It is a significant part of the assignment. So we have to shift our thinking away from just hurry up and get to typing, and that the research and the planning and all of that is keeping us from actually starting, and get into the mindset that that is starting. That is the most significant part. That is where the thinking takes place. That is where the learning takes place. Think of it like the way scientists prepare a paper for publication. The most important part is not the actual writing of the paper. They don't spend the most amount of time writing up their findings. They spend the most amount of time discovering their findings, doing their research, learning about the topic, deciding what the most important parts are, deciding what they want to add in there, deciding what conclusion they've come to. The research takes years on some of those things. The pre-writing is where the learning is. The pre-writing is where those decisions are made. Once that's done, you should be able to just write through an outline, quick like that. So if you've done the research, you've done the planning, and you have an outline, then you just write through your outline. And good, bad, ugly, as soon as you finish that first draft of writing through that outline, you're done with the writing and you've moved into post-writing. And that, while not as long as pre-writing, is also a significant part of the assignment. So we have to shift away again from the idea that as soon as I've hit the bottom of the second page on a 2 to 3 page paper, that, whew, I'm done, just hurry quick, look through it, I just want to turn it in. I get those, I know those. Those are the reasons that you're 3 or 4 minutes late trying to get your stuff submitted, is that you're not planning for all of the parts that you need to get done in there. So in the post-writing, that's when we polish it up. That's when we look through it. This is the most significant thing you can do toward the end, is if you've done all of this pre-writing work and you have all of these great ideas and you've put them all in your writing, and then you skip polishing them. You skip the presentation. And it totally changes the way that it looks. So then we want to make sure we have enough time to read it through, to run editing, to double check, to have someone read it, to read it ourselves, to take the time to do that. If we can shift the way we look at the assignment to where we realize the most amount of time is going to be in preparing, quickly get through a writing, and then have significant time for post-writing, we'll produce higher quality work in less time with less stress. And one of the key ways that we get to that is through outlining. So I'm going to show you a few different graphic organizers or online resources that I use for outlining. A lot of times students say, ugh, outlining. Like, oh, it's just an extra step that I have to do before I get to my paper. I guarantee you that I can tell the difference between a paper that has had some pre-writing, some pre-organization outlining, and some that hasn't. So I want to get this to you sooner rather than later. We'll go over outlining sometime in the next couple of weeks, but it's a skill you really need before you even approach a paper if you want your paper to not feel like torture. So I'm a convert to outlining. I thought, yeah, I can do it. I'm a writer, I can write. And so I never did it. And then when I was in college, I had a teacher that assigned us a paper that we had to have the topic approved. So we had to turn in an outline to get the topic approved. Well, I didn't want to write a whole paper I didn't have an approved topic for, so I went ahead and did the outline. Got the research, put it together, organized the outline, turned it in, whatever. I thought, oh, such a wasted step. But then when I went to write the paper, it took half the time and I never stressed out. I never had to sit in that, oh, what do I write next? I don't know what to say. Do I have enough stuff? How come? Oh, it's only half a page. I need a whole page. Or it's only 5 pages. I need 10 pages. Or staring at the blank page wondering what to say. When you have an outline, you always know what you're saying next, and you always know if you have enough information to work with. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that I do with outlining. Now I use an informal outline where I just make little tick marks, but this is just a paper doc that I can make available to you if you want it, that can help you outline, especially for list people. So the first thing I want to do is I can tap out where my opening sentence is. This is a good place to put your hook. Have you ever wondered? Whatever your hook is, have your thesis statement here. Once you've figured out your thesis statement, you can just jot down what are the 3 points you want to make. So if I were doing my This I Believe essay, I could say, I believe having a pet is a great blessing. And then I might write up here in my opening sentence, have you ever felt lonely, come home from work and saw a mess or saw an empty house and wished you'd had someone happy to greet you? Or I could start with, how would you like it if every time you came home, someone jumped it with the joy to see you and wanted nothing more than to just tell you how much they love you? And then that would be a good hook. But then I have those 2 sentences written in my outline, but for the details, I'm just going to put 1 or 2 words that remind me of what I want to say for my 3 points. I'm not writing my paper twice. I'm not writing my detail points in full sentences. That's a waste of time. So I'm just going to write loving, fun, companion. Those are the 3 points I want to make right there. Then as I come down into this next body topic, I'll write the first thing will be, first of all, or one of the best things about having a pet is that they are loving. So I have that sentence down from my detail 1. And then here again, just 1 or 2 words reminding me of the things I want to say about my pet being loving. They are always forgiving. Maybe I put forgiving, or that I put cuddly, that I put loyal, and then I want to remember, or I might remember a story or 2 about my pet. And so I might be like, Dobie / jerk. And then I will remember that when I want to write that paragraph, I'll remember I'm going to tell the story about when my dog stayed around me all of the time when I was sad after a jerk was really mean to me, and that they're sensitive to that and that that's useful. But I don't need all of those details in my outline. Just 1 or 2 words that remind me about all the points I want to make about how my pet is loving with that first point. And this here, if I have more than 1 paragraph, I can do that. So if I'm writing more than 1 page, I'm going to be adding another paragraph about loving or having a different topic. But if it's just one page, I just need the one paragraph for each topic. And then here, I will say another reason, so see that transition, another that ties it in there, that it's great to have a pet, is that they're fun. And then I'm just going to 1 or 2 words detail here and tell stories. Hiking, pool time / hilarious, maybe, or playing with the kids. And those will all just be things that remind me when I go to write my paper, oh yeah, I want a couple sentences about how we go hiking together. Oh yeah, I want to have a few sentences about that time that she jumped in the pool and how hilarious that was. And oh yeah, I want to have a few things about how much the kids love playing with her. My nieces, my nephews, all of that. So it's just a hint to remind me that I have the things I want to talk about. And you know, it's important to have that down and organized, because once you sit down and you just want to write your paper, we have a tendency to just hurry up and rush through blah, 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 and we forget all of those things, and then we try to tack them on the end, or it's not long enough. And then we just do the same thing for the 3rd point or the fourth point, or however many points we need for the length of our paper. And so I just do the same thing here. Finally, my pet makes a great companion. And then good friend, park visits, never alone, you know, those kinds of things that just give me a hint. So as I've gone through my outline, I've just come up with a couple of ideas and jotted down 1 or 2 words, and then made a sentence out of each topic, and then jotted down 1 or 2 words about each topic that I want to write about. And now I have an outline and I'm ready to write my paper. If this type of outlining isn't what works for you, if you're more visual, I have another graphic organizer as well. This one is an interactive one online, but you can also print the blank map here if you want. And this is just another way to prepare a paper for yourself. So maybe I'm doing the same thing for my This I Believe essay. And I can just type right into here that I believe pets make our lives better. And so I can do from here, I know that this is what I want to talk about. Now in my introduction paragraph, I'm going to have to name all of my points. So maybe I hadn't thought of those yet. So I can click this and it tells me what my 3 ideas are. And if I remember before, I said pets are loving, fun, companion. And again, you'll notice I'm not even writing out whole things. I'm just jotting down my ideas. And then I write, what do I want to say about when she's loving? I'm going to say snuggly, and then I can remember that a little hint to remind me that she always wants to sleep wherever I'm at. Another thing about how she's loving is I can, again, like I'd said before, I can say Dobie, that's my pet, and jerk. And as much as that is, she's not a jerk. But those are words that remind me, oh yeah, when that guy was a jerk to me, or that person was not very nice, she always followed me around and snuggled with me and wanted to be near me as long as she knew I was sad. And those couple of words are enough to remind me of what I want to say, because these are my notes. So then I can move on to that last one, and I can add, you know, she loves kids. So that's just another thing that reminds me about it. Then I can go back up, then I go back down to idea 2, and I just jot down the few things, just the 1 or 2 words of what I want to remember to talk about, so that I have enough information there to remind me what my goals are and what I want to make sure I don't forget to write about for her. And then I just do that last one, which is, let's see, what did I say? She's fun. I always have someone to play with, so that's fine. And I'll remember that. Like, I can put fetch, I can put whatever in there. It's not really relevant since I'm sort of making this up. And then on the last one, I just go back over here, companion, that I talk about. She always greets me. Never alone, and loyal, right? And while I don't need to write out whole complete things, I now have a whole plan for my paper. And I can click down here and I have my conclusion, which needs to be similar to, but not the same as my introduction. So if we want to go back and visit what that is up here, we have, I believe pets make our lives better. So if I want to write my whole introduction, I might put my hook in here where I talk about how, I grab the reader's attention, then I have my thesis, and then I'll have just a sentence or two that introduces what my points are. So before I even finish my outline, I can just flesh out my introduction. So I have my little hook, wouldn't it be great? That's nice. Wouldn't you love to come home? So there you are. I'm missing the you love. But anyway, it's an outline, so it's fine. Wouldn't you love to come home and be greeted every day by a loyal and loving friend? I am lucky enough to be welcomed home this way every time I walk through the door. Tail wagging faster than seems possible, my little 15-pound friend lets me know I am home. Having pets brings love, fun, and companionship to our lives. I believe pets are a blessing, or are blessings. So when you look at this, I have my little hook. I have my thesis statement there at the end. I believe pets are blessings. But I've also referred to what I'm going to talk about in my paper there, in my essay map. Love, fun, companionship. So now I know. And now I can skip down to the conclusion and create it. And it needs to have something that brings us full circle, refers back to that thesis statement, and restates what we've talked about in the paper. So I can write out something that works really well as a conclusion there as well. So we can see here then, I just pulled this one out, but with their unconditional love, fun spirit, and loyal companionship, I believe having a pet is a blessing. No matter what each day brings, it is great to know my friend will be there to welcome me home. So when I look at this conclusion, it refers back to the points I made, love, fun, companionship, without doing it exactly the same way I did my introduction. Gives me a reference to my thesis statement, said believe, said blessing, even though it's not worded the same way. And then sort of a closing so what that actually drew back into my hook and brings that paper full circle. So no matter what each day brings, it's great to know my friend will be welcome home. So as we finish this outline, we've written a couple of sentences at the beginning and jotted down our few ideas, and then a couple of sentences just saying what our ideas were at the end, and that's all the work we've done to do the outline. If I were doing research, I would have, before I read my outline, come up with my thesis statement and then gone and read through the couple of articles or whatever that I needed to read through, highlighting what I liked. And then in this area, I would add the research notes to remind where I want to put my research in this. But since this isn't that kind of paper, then I can finish it. And there we have this right here, and I can print it. I can save it as a Word copy. I can email it to myself, whatever I want. But now that I've finished it, once I hit finish, it's done. I can print this out and I have it as an outline. So that's what I really like about this one. Because from this point on, all I have to do, I can take a break. If I did this on Monday, I was going to be doing this and outlining it. What I would do is I would approach it with, I read my assignment on Monday, I read through the stuff I need to, I do that research, the highlighting, everything I need to on Monday. I would make an outline on Tuesday, and I'd have a rough draft on Wednesday if it were due on Wednesday. If I have a week to think about it or read about it like you do in some of your future assignments, you just break it up like that. So I'm going to do my research maybe Monday, Tuesday, and then I'm going to do an outline on Wednesday, and I'll draft Thursday, or however you're going to break that up. You just want to make sure you have that time so that you're not putting it off until the last minute and hoping you can crank a draft out. So from here, I can use this outline to write my paper. So now I have this document, and when I sit down the next day or whenever I've scheduled to write my paper, I already have my introduction there. That was just a couple of few sentences, a paragraph I had to do yesterday, no big deal. And now I just have to turn this into a sentence. So I can say, one of the best things about having a pet is that they're very loving. I just have to turn that into a sentence. That's it. That's not hard. And then I move down here. And now I just need to write the few sentences where I talk about how my pet is snuggly or sleepy, or how I make that first point. So I can say, every single night my pet tries to get into my bed. She just wants to snuggle next to me. Anytime I sit down on a couch, she wants to be right next to where I am. In fact, usually around 9:30 or 10 p.m. she starts barking and nagging because it's time to go to bed and she wants to snuggle. She also is very attentive whenever I'm sad. She wants to be where I'm at. She makes sure that she is supportive of me. She's very sensitive to those things. She also loves kids. In fact, sometimes she chases the neighborhood kids around. So I can make it longer, shorter, 1 or 2 sentences about each of those topics if it's a 1-page paper. If it's a 2 or 3-page paper, I might have a paragraph on each one of those. But I've organized it so I'm only talking about the loving aspect. Longer paper, I'm going to have a whole paragraph about being snuggly, and a whole paragraph about being supportive, and a whole paragraph about how she loves kids. A 1-page paper, I'm going to have 1 or 2 sentences about each of those things. But it's easy to just write 1 or 5 to 7 sentences on each thing, or just 1 or 2 sentences on each thing, instead of looking at it as a whole paper. And I'm going to stay organized. And as soon as I finish that, I go back up to this point and I start writing. Another way that having a pet is great is that they're so fun. And I've used that transition because I said one way and now I've said another way. And then I do the same thing. If it's a longer paper, I'll have a whole paragraph about each one of those topics. If it's a shorter paper, I'll have a couple of sentences about each of them, and they'll be all 1 paragraph together. I finish that one, and then I can say an additional way, or finally, pets make a great companion. 1 sentence, and then same thing. Go on about this for a paragraph or a few sentences, paragraph, paragraph, or a few sentences. And in the end, I'm just writing 1 paragraph at a time, a couple sentences at a time, about ideas I already have in front of me. So I'm already aware of what I'm writing next. I put my conclusion on the end. I have a draft. And then that's it. If I were writing a research paper, I would have added the little places I wanted to put research, the quotes I found in my research in each of these places. And so as I wrote through, I would have just worked those in, and boom, I have a draft. And once it exists, we can do amazing things with it. But until it exists, it's just that stress. What's great about approaching your writing this way is that you break it down into manageable pieces so it is never overwhelming in any individual way. I just got to come up with an idea. Okay, I just got to come up with 3 points about an idea. Okay, I just have to remember a couple things I want to say about point 1. I just have to think of a couple things I want to say about point 2. I just have to think of a couple things I want to say about point 3. And once you have those points, you can make an introduction, you can make a conclusion. You just take your thesis and make a sentence about your points, and now you have an introduction. You just take your points and your thesis and reword them, and now you have a conclusion. And so that is an easy way to take whatever writing assignment you have and plug it into a formula that will help you create an organized, well thought out paper. So hopefully that helps you have the skills that you need to start organizing your papers, to take some of the stress out, and just give you the how-to to get those papers taken care of. Outlining is very important. If you take nothing else from the class, take outlining, and the rest of it will fall into place. So go forth and be fabulous.